And please, can you see my screen?
Yes, I believe you can see it. You have to put it into presentation mode.
Yes, yes. Okay, good. So here we go. So this evening is just more like a revision from my side. That's what I'll say. It's a revision to all of us, just to know what cybersecurity is all about and how we'll have to protect ourselves. So that's what we'll do this evening for the time that we have. So first of all, what really does cybersecurity mean? And so cybersecurity is a practice. What it means, therefore, is that it's supposed to be a way of life. It's a practice where we defend computers, we defend servers, we defend mobile devices, we defend electronic systems, and indeed any type of network and data from malicious attacks. So once you are practicing the act of defending your devices, your network, any system, and in particular your data from dubious attacks, you are exercising cybersecurity. And in exercising cybersecurity, there are three key principles that guide us. And these are CIA, not the US CIA, but this stands for different things. So the first one is what we call confidentiality. And confidentiality seeks that whatever info that you share would only be read by the right people. So for confidentiality, it's more like saying the secrets of secrets. You do not need a third party to know what you are sharing. You are only interested in making sure that the right recipient gets the information and no other person. Then the second guiding principle of cybersecurity is integrity. And with integrity, we are aspiring such that the information that we share with others will not be changed by third-party people or people it's not meant for. And that even if there will be a change, it has to be by people who are authorized or by processes that have been put in place to ensure the seamless change of the information that we share. Then the final guiding principle is availability, where we ensure that the information that we share is available to whoever we want to have it, as and when they want it. So CIA is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, why? Let me just, oh boy. Why should you be concerned as an individual? Why should you be concerned about cybersecurity? Now, almost everything that we do is online. And so if we're going to a war, our battlefield is no longer forests, a park on the sea, in the air. Warfare is now being done on our devices, on the internet, online. And so we need to be concerned about our safety there. Many people are online now. Over 1.6 billion people use the internet as it is now. And not all of them are using it for stuff that are harmless. Most of them are using it for harmful stuff. And some of these people include criminals, some are hackers, and of course, others are terrorists. And that is why it is important for us to be concerned about cybersecurity. I would like to put some things into perspective. And so I'm going to ask 10 questions and pause about 2 seconds after each of them so we give our own answers. At this point, anybody who wants to give an answer verbally can just unmute and then give their answer, but to be short. So the first one, when you start your computer or your phone, do you need a password or a pattern to log in? For all of us, if we start our computers or we switch on our phones, do we necessarily need a password or a pattern before we log in? Then the second one, when you leave your computer for a break, does it require you to enter a password before you can resume work? And this applies mostly when we work in the office with shared computers or with our own computers. And even with our phones, when you leave it for a while and the screen goes off and you turn it back on and the screen is on, does it require you to enter a password before you can use it? Then the third, where do you keep your passwords for your computer and for logging onto websites and social media? Where do you keep your passwords? Do you use a single password on more than one website? Do you use a single password on more than one website? Do you use an antivirus software on your computer? Then, is your antivirus up to date, or you just have an antivirus so you are okay? Do you update your antivirus? Do you regularly update the software that you use on your system? Do you use what we call a firewall on your router or on your computer to protect you from attacks? And then 9, do you have backup of your important data stored somewhere other than on your computer? And the final one, have you ever been the victim of a computer crime such as a virus or online fraud? Have you ever been a victim? So, like I said, most of us use the internet and it's just for normal everyday chores as we see it. And so we don't feel somebody would even target you. But the truth is that no matter who you are, so long as you're on the internet, you can be prey for someone. It's just like jungle now. You never know who is looking at you as a meal and going to thank God that you are available. So why would I be a target? You can be a target for someone who is interested in extortion. People can hijack your system, get your data or some files that are important to you, and they demand ransom. Until you pay the ransom, they don't release your data to you. There are others who also do sextortion. So they might have pictures of you, especially in the nude, and they'll use that to blackmail you to get more money. Otherwise, they threaten that they might post it online or do something else with it. Then there's something called denial of service. For denial of service, when the software that people write, and they call these botnets or robot networks. So what they do is that they target your system, and all these networks and computers on their network continuously send huge requests to your system. And because your computer is overwhelmed, it fails to provide the service that you need. And so we term that as denial of service. It's denying you the service. And so you just be accessing your system and still not getting the info that you want because it's overwhelmed with extra information that it's trying to process. Another reason why you'll be a target is for theft. So people would like to steal your login details, especially credit card details and other stuff like that. They can steal your financial information. So if you have a bank account or bank details, they do steal all those. And of course, there are some that hijack your web camera on your PC, and they use that to record you without you knowing, and then they share it or use that footage for whatever they want. Then there are others who use this for fraud. So they provide fake services, they provide fake products, and of course, we have the almighty money transfer scam. And then finally, you'll be a target because somebody would like to access and use your system without authorization. So they send you what we call spam, unsolicited emails. They can also hack into your web server, which is the server that hosts your website, and then do stuff with it. That's why sometimes you hear that there's a particular government website or institution's website that has been hijacked and is now showing just pornography. Meanwhile, that institution is not affiliated to any pornographic activity. It's because some people have hijacked their web server and they are now putting stuff that they want on it. So what we want to do now is to access our information assets. Most of the things that we create, we feel they are just that. But as I said, what you feel is normal might really be gold for someone else who will use it against you. And in the last 3 to 5 years, we've created more information than there's ever been since creation. So whatever you create is important. And the information that we have is something that we need to take stock of. The pictures you have, your music that you have, your files from work that you have, um, what other information, videos that you have. These are all assets. These are all assets that you need to take stock of. So this just a diagram, a table to help you analyze and take stock of your assets. So what type of information do you have? Is it a video? Is it a picture? Where is it located? Is it online in the cloud, or is actually stored on a device? And then you watch the value. Is it low such that when you lose it, you can always get it back? Or it's medium? You can't get some back, you can get it back, or it's really high that if it's stolen or it gets into the wrong hands, something might happen to you, or you might lose money or funds or something like that. And then what are the threats that are associated to that particular information asset that you have? So this is just an exercise you can do later. This is just to show us an exercise you can do on our own to understand the things that we've created over the years and how important they are. So what are some of the threats that we are facing when it comes to cybersecurity? The first one is phishing. You pronounce phishing as you go to fish, but spelled PH instead of F. So with phishing, what happens is that, of course, and with everyone who has an idea of phishing, you always go with a bait. And that bait is the hook that gets your victim. Most of the phishing happens in emails. And what they do is called email spoofing. So they create fake emails that look like regular emails that you know. So somebody can just fake my email and send an email to any of my contacts or my colleagues. And they will think that it's actually coming from me, but it's not. It's not. It's from someone else. And so people use that to get access to data on your PC or your system. Some other way that they do the phishing is to send you a message, email, mostly from your bank, from eBay, from Amazon, or from some other online shop. And they tell you probably our systems are being upgraded and we need you to click on a particular link. Once you click on this link, we'll be able to update your data on our servers. Failure to do this will mean that you forfeit your membership of our you forfeit your membership in our database. And because you might be afraid, you click on the link and they get access to your system, because the link actually is not going to eBay or Amazon or your bank. It's going to the hackers server, and they will have access to all those details. So that's what phishing does. Then there's malicious software or malware, and these comes in different forms. So we have the virus, and viruses are executable files. What they do is that they attach themselves to a program that they know you use, and they will hide there until you run the program. If you don't run the program, the virus, most of them are idle. But the moment you run the program, what they do is to halt the program. They run in the background, then they allow the program to run. And when they get into the system, they replicate. So they mutate, they make different versions of themselves. And that's why we have the antivirus being updated, or as it were, with this corona thing, we have a new mutation coming up, and the people who have been vaccinated are getting the new one, probably because this new one has some characteristic that the old vaccine didn't know about and didn't cater for. And that's why they have been affected. So that's how viruses work. They mutate, create a new version of themselves, and they continue replicating like that. so they avoid detection. And viruses move from one system to the other. The other malware is what we call the worm. Now, with viruses work from one system to the other, but a worm actually works on a network. So if the virus is a contagious disease, okay, like the corona, which is contact to contact, a worm will actually be a communicable disease, like chicken pox. So the worm works on a network, so it's pretty fast. It doesn't do one-on-one. It just gets onto a network, and every device on the network gets infected. That's why it's important that when you're on a network, which is the internet, the biggest of all, you need to be careful, because anything that gets onto the internet, so long as you are connected to it and you are vulnerable, it will attack you. So that's what the worms do. Then we have Trojans. And for this, if you're a fan of Greek mythology or movies and you've watched the movie Troy, you should be familiar with the Trojan horse. So this, with the story, we had Troy being a well-guarded city, and the Greek going to war needed a way to attack, but they couldn't penetrate the wall. So what they did was to leave this horse on the shore, making the Trojans believe that they were scared and they had abandoned or retreated. And they took the horse into their city through the wall, closed the wall, and midnight, in the dead of the night, soldiers from inside the horse came out and attacked the city, and Troy was destroyed. So it's the same concept with the Trojan horse. It looks like something that is harmless, but within it lies trouble. And most of these Trojans come like freebies. You visit a website, congratulations, you are the 1 millionth visitor to a website. Click here for a free prize, and we like free things. So you click. You might get your free thing, but there's something that is going to cost you. It might be a keylogger or some other type of malware that they've sent to destroy something in your system. Then another threat is cookies. So cookies are basically small pieces of data that can be used to track your use of the internet. And now almost every website that we visit, you see cookies. You see a message telling you enable cookies so that we will better serve you. So what the cookies do is to save small pieces of information about you, so that they can continuously send it to the server of that website to, as it were, enhance your experience of using that website. And most people write codes and software that get information from such cookies. And so that also gets your details. So there are times you'll be filling a form, and because you've been there before, the moment you open the form, most of your basic details are filled in. Your name pops up, you click your phone number comes up and stuff like that. Or you notice that for a particular week, you were researching or Googling about cars or visiting websites where they sell cars. The next time you log into Google and you go to Google search, the first 3 adverts you see will be about cars, even though you didn't request or you didn't have it in mind to Google cars. They come. It's because cookies have those little information about you and made it available to the website. So that's also a threat. Hello. All right, then we have keyloggers and spam. So spam is unsolicited emails. Mostly it's marketing email that comes. And some of them are actually embedded with files, with information that can house viruses and malware. And so we need to be careful about those as well. Indeed, most of the email service providers automatically put some of the emails we get into spam. But if they don't, you can equally go into your email setting and then enable that spam checker, so that when he sees anything that he feels is funny, it just marks it as spam. Keyloggers, as the name suggests, is that it's a spyware, so it spies information. And when a keylogger, which most of the time is a Trojan horse, gets onto your system, what it does is anytime you open a form or even you switch on your computer and you have to enter your password, there's a little code that reads the system to ensure that this is a text box that's ready for input. And at that point, the keylogger is alive. So whatever you type gets recorded and sent to the one who wrote the malware. And so they get access to your passwords and credit card details. Then the social engineering. Now, humans are the weakest link in every organization. No matter the perfect security system you might have, humans will always be the weakest because we deal with emotions and all other things, and people exploit those things to their benefit. So what people do, like as the picture depicts, is that they take our human nature and turn it against us. For instance, you have a call, and the call seems to come from your accounts office or finance department at work. Oh, this is the whoever from finance, and we need this particular detail from you to calculate something. And without thinking twice, you give it to them. That's social engineering. We leverage on the human emotion and get it. Somebody moved houses, but yet still got robbed and was thinking how they got robbed. And this how it happened. So someone called them and straight away, so for instance, I'm the person and says, oh, I'm looking for Mr. Frank. And instead of saying this on Mr. Frank and ending it there, I went on because I'm a human being. I went on as, oh no, this is not Mr. Frank, this is Kafui. He said, oh, is that so? But I had the friend, Mr. Frank, this was his number. He used to stay in this place. I said, no, I am living here and there, and that's social engineering in context, in practice. And that's what they do to get you. So what you need to do is to question everything. Trust no one, no matter what it is. And anytime it seems too good to be true, trust your guts. It's actually too good to be true. So how do we prevent ourselves? Of course, you see the first picture, which is supposed to be a bit funny, wearing all that PPE just to access the internet. Then the one on the right, I don't think anybody would do the one on the right, where you actually lock your phone with padlock and only open it with the key when you're about to use it. That's going to be something else. So these are some of the measures that we can take. So the first one is to use passwords. Now the picture has password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of the weakest passwords you can ever use is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because it's something that people can easily guess. So you need to use passwords that are at least 8 characters. Now we are putting the characters because we don't just need numbers and we don't just need letters. It needs to be a combination of alphabets, numbers, and symbols. And the alphabets can be capital and small letters mixed. So it's complex enough for you to be safe. Now, people will say 8 characters is too long. Others will say, how do they actually get these combinations? So there's something called passphrases. You can use a passphrase to create a password. And the advantage here is that this is just a phrase that you know. And we can just do an example after we do this. An example, one that you know. So if you give a phrase, a sentence, thank God today is Tuesday or something like that, you just take that phrase and take the first letters of each of them, then you start replacing those with symbols, characters, and tweaking it. The password that you come out with will be complex, yes, but you will never forget it because you always remember the phrase. And so for those who use passwords on their systems, Windows and Mac and all that, you see that even when you create the password, it's always asking you for a hint. Because when you forget the password, that is the hint that makes you remember what the password is. And another good practice is that every 3 months, you need to change your password. I know some of us have been using the same password since 1995. That is not cool. We need to change our passwords every 90 days. Every 90 days, change your password. Don't use the same password for different accounts. So you have the same password for Facebook, it's the same password for Twitter, it's the same password for your work email, it's the same password for your Gmail, it's the same password for Instagram, same password for what else? Your bank account. Like everything you do is the same password because you are telling yourself, oh, I can't think and have all these different combinations in my head. But that is a recipe for disaster. Because the moment I'm able to guess your password, I can get access to everything about you. And so please, we need to find a way of getting different passwords for different accounts that we use. And that will make us a bit more safe. Now, apart from using passwords, there's something known as a two-factor authentication. So there's a password plus a token. And how it works is that if you enable it, for instance, if you go to Gmail, your account's security settings, then you see enable two-factor authentication. Facebook has the same thing. Security, under security preferences, you see two-factor authentication. So even if you enter your password, your username and password, it's still going to come out with a different page asking you for some 6 or in some cases 4-digit code. And this is going to be sent to your phone. And because you are the only one who has that phone number, you'll get access to it. So if I've enabled two-factor authentication, anybody who tries to access my email, I'll just be here and I'll get a 6-digit code from Google. That already alerts me that somebody is trying to log into my email because I didn't do that. And so two-factor authentication gives you a second layer of protection. So that is the other thing that you can do to stay safe. Then on emails, do not open emails you are not sure of. It's not every email that you see that you need to open. Do not open emails that you are not sure of. Always type the links that come in the email in a web browser. So if they give you a link and they say, click on this link, copy the link, open a new tab on your browser, paste the link in it, hit OK. If it is a genuine site, it will open. If it is not, it will be blocked. And so that will save you. The other quick way you can do that is not to click on the link, but just put your mouse pointer on it, what we call the hover. So you just put your mouse pointer on it, and you realize that below the page, you will see the website written. If it's genuine, it will show the same thing or the genuine one. If it is not, you may see something different below, and that tells you this is not a genuine link. So that's another thing you can do when you open your emails. Beware of downloading attachments from unknown email senders. And even if you know the email senders, don't just be downloading every attachment because some of them have viruses and it might be probably ignorant on the part of the sender who doesn't know it's a virus and they send it to you. So it's good that most of these email providers are actually having inbuilt scanners. And so when they send, you receive an email with an attachment, they scan it first to ensure it hasn't got any viruses. Then they allow you to download. In the case where your internet reception is very weak, it tells you, well, we can't check to see whether it has a virus or not, but you are downloading this at your own risk. So you need to ensure you don't just download everything. And most of the attachments now are not attachments. For instance, pictures. You can just drag and drop pictures into the body of the email. And if that is corrupted, definitely once you click and open it, it also has some consequences. So we need to be careful when we are dealing with emails, which is one of the most common ways that people share these viruses and malware. Then, of course, you need to use public Wi-Fi with caution. We all like free Wi-Fi, but not everything that is free is free. And so if you visit a hotel go for a conference, meeting, or you're at a cafe and there's free Wi-Fi, be very careful how you jump to access it. If the one who is behind it, behind the provision of the management of that particular Wi-Fi has a bad mind, they can access whatever you are, because once you are connected to it, they can see. And so they can access whatever data you are accessing. Even if they are not able to, there are some computer hackers who are very good, so that they will also be sitting there at the cafe, for instance, the cafe experience, and they will hack into the cafe's network, what we call the SSID. So before you connect to a network, you see a name. That's the SSID. They create what we call the evil twin of the SSID and block the authentic one. So you'll be there and you see that your network goes off, and then you need to connect to Wi-Fi again. So it's more like the list of networks that are available gets refreshed. And the moment it refreshes, it is the evil twin that is there. I'm not saying this is the case every time, but I'm saying this is something that can happen. And so the second time that you are logging, you are accessing and connecting to that particular network, you may probably be connecting to an evil twin, and the hacker gets access to that. So you need to be careful. If you are not using your Bluetooth, turn it off. Now, most of us have Bluetooth earpieces, earphones and earpieces. And so almost every time our phones are on Bluetooth, it still opens you up to vulnerability, because there are some who have some way of connecting to Bluetooth devices without you confirming. So there's no pairing, but they can actually access your device once your Bluetooth is on and your Wi-Fi is also on when not in use. So please just be careful. If you're not using your Wi-Fi, you're not using your Bluetooth, turn it off. You need to update the privacy settings of all your accounts. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just go to settings. You see privacy settings. In some places, you have preferences. Then you have security. You go there and you change whatever you do not want. Just edit it and update those settings so you are safe. Another thing you can do is to ensure that your firewalls are working. A firewall can be a hardware or software. And what it does is to sit in between your computer or your system and the network. And so the picture that you see is just trying to give us a pictorial, not the actual computer firewall, but an idea of why the firewall is important. You can see the fireman is safe because there's this wall that is protecting him from the fire. The fire cannot go beyond the wall, and so he's safe. And that's how firewalls act. They sit between you and the internet. And so if any other thing wants to pass through, it is a firewall that will allow it or not. And if you are advanced enough, you can actually go into your firewall and change and allow or disallow, block whichever data that you don't want to receive. So that's important, using the firewall. Most of us of late, because most of us are on our phones, we download a lot of mobile apps, probably for work, for productivity, meetings and stuff like that. I'm sure most of us are on Zoom and this call from our phones, not on our PCs. It's because it's convenient. But when you are downloading the apps or you even want to use them, they normally give you some idea of the permissions that they require. So you need to look at them very critically. You don't just accept every permission that it wants. For instance, there was once I was downloading a dictionary on the phone, and then the permission said this dictionary would need access to your camera. I didn't understand why a dictionary would need access to my camera, so I didn't install it. Unless, of course, it is a dictionary that will give me the name of any picture, any item on the picture that it sees, which will be artificial intelligence. Probably I just have my camera on, take a picture, and then send it to that particular dictionary, and it will scan through and tell me, oh, this picture is that of a PC or that of a tree or that. But if it's not that kind of dictionary, and it's just the normal dictionary. I'll look up words. It doesn't need to have access to my contacts or my camera. So definitely I'm not installing that. So you need to check that as well. And even now, if you want to use Uber, Bolt, the rest, Lyft, and the others, sometimes it tells you allow it to use access to have access your location, and then you see three options: now, only this time, or always, or something. Usually, I just say only this time. So that after this time, I disable my location and I'm gone. So as my location is not on and on, you never know who will have access to that. And so that brings me to the next point: disable your location finder if necessary. People don't always need to know where you are. And sometimes when we finish using car hailing apps, Uber, Lyft, and the other one, Bolt, our location is on. So we need the next ride because we feel it's convenient. But in this day and age, sometimes convenience can be expensive. So please, once you finish your ride, you pay and rate your driver, just turn your location off. If you are using GPS, that's understandable, but the moment you get to your destination, put your location off. If you want to come back, switch on your location, it takes you there, switch it off, and then you also be safe. Remember when we're going through the questions, there was a point which was asking if you update your software. The fact that you just have software on your system doesn't mean you are safe. You need to update it because we've seen that malware such as viruses mutate. And so when they mutate with what we call the virus signature, there's some added functionality to the virus, which the update that you have now doesn't know about. So you would need to necessarily update your software, operating system, and antivirus so that whatever new signature or feature or property the virus may have had, because we are connected, so somebody may have had it first. The antivirus company would have incorporated that into the update, and then you get it. So most of the updates that we get is just added security based on a new functionality of viruses that have come known to the developers of the antivirus. And that's why you need to always update your software. Then there's something called a VPN, virtual private network. So this also sits between you and the internet. And what it does is that it hides your IP address and makes it difficult for somebody to know where you are actually communicating or accessing the internet from. So recently, when Nigeria blocked Twitter, we had a lot of the youth use VPNs, because then with a VPN, they could easily choose a location, say Russia or Canada or someplace, and the internet, the company that was using the banking would feel that this is a request from outside Nigeria. So even though it was blocked in Nigeria, they would have access because the IP address they were coming with is not a Nigerian IP address. You know, now with Google and the rest, they can tell your location. Once you are connected to the internet, it shows where you are from. And so people use VPNs to protect themselves from hackers and all the other people who are prying their systems. Access secured websites. Now, secured websites are mostly the ones that come with the S. So you have the website starting HTTPS, then you know it's secure. And mostly you have a padlock. You have a padlock in front of it. So you need to try as much as possible to access websites that are secured. Update your security options on your browsers. And so, as I mentioned, with all the browsers that we use, once we go to account settings or browser settings, we'll see security, we'll see preferences based on the type that you are using, and it gives you options. So with the cookies that we mentioned, you can actually disable cookies. You can disable third-party cookies. So the next time you are accessing and the website wants to access your cookie, because the browser has been told not to allow it, it doesn't even allow it to give you that message. Or having pop-ups. You want to open a link and there's a pop-up, a small thing opening before the link. That also can be prevented. Then there's this website, browser known as Tor, the Onion router browser. This is what most people use to surf what we call the dark web. So the browser works like the VPN, just that when you are using the browser, it also reroutes your request across a number of nodes. So it doesn't go straight from your system to wherever, whichever server you need. It bounces it off a number of times. So it's difficult for people to trace where you're actually browsing from and what your IP is and stuff like that. So for those who really do the dark web stuff, Tor browser is your friend. Then you have what we call tokens. So sometimes instead of a password, you may have a card with a microchip on it, which allows you to access the facility or your system. So that's a token. Then, of course, the almighty biometric is also a way of being safe. So now some laptops allow you to log into your system with your face, with your fingerprint, with your voice, with your iris, and stuff like that. So it's easier for it to be safe. I can't steal your device and your data if my face is not yours. Unless probably I do what they did in the movie Face Off, then that's fine. Then of course, backup, always backup. Get your information stored somewhere else. If it's online, download it onto a hard drive and keep somewhere. If it's on a hard drive, keep it on another hard drive, on a system, or on the internet. Just always backup so that when you lose one, you'll be able to recover your data and not be found wanting. Now, if you want to hire people, screen them properly because you never know what they are bringing on board. So screen people, potential new hires carefully. Watch for disgruntled, this should be disgruntled employees and ex-employees, because these are the people who can cause your organization or cause you. So if we are bringing this to our personal lives, watch your disgruntled friends and ex-friends, because they are the ones who are closer to you and know how best they can get into your system and what to do. If you are an organization, always ask your business partners to review their security. Now, this is because, as I mentioned, viruses mutate. So one other thing I should have mentioned was that as an organization, it's best that you use the same antivirus across the organization. Just pay money, buy an antivirus, and deploy it across the organization. What that does is that you'll always be fighting the same enemy. But if part of the organization uses antivirus A, another part uses antivirus B, the tendency that you always have a virus infection is high, because antivirus A might see a virus that antivirus B might not see, or vice versa. But if we all use the same antivirus and it's updated at the same time, whatever affects one person affects all of us. Whatever is solved for one person is solved for all of us. So if you have business partners, you also ask them to review their security policies occasionally. What next steps can we take? So you need to draft and implement a code of conduct if you're an organization, or even as a person, draft a code of conduct for yourself. Do you need to use your work PC for your personal stuff? For instance, most of us like to now use WhatsApp on our PCs. Would you like to just use your office PC and connect it to your WhatsApp so you can be WhatsApping on it, or having all that information downloaded onto your work PC? You need to get a code of conduct, what to be done and how it should be done. Then you need to draft an IT security policy for the organization. And of course, if you're in Ghana, you need to become acquainted with the Ghana Cybersecurity Act, 2020 Act 1038, which spells out a number of things. I mentioned that you may be a target because somebody may like to extort or do what we call sextortion. So there are portions of the act that state what will happen if you even possess the pornography or pornographic material of a child, or if you're even cyber stalking someone. They are all spelled out, and then they spell out how you can even report any internet how do you put it? any internet grievance, there are ways you can report that. So just become acquainted with it. I'm sure Uganda will have, other countries have cybersecurity laws, and so you need to become acquainted with that. And for that, you just keep calm and follow the rules, and you'll be fine. So I would like to end here by just asking all of us, are you safe? Lieutenant President, thank you. If there are any questions or contributions, I will take them now. Thank you.
IPP, I think you should take over. That president has dropped off.
Okay, so thank you, PP Kafi, for that in-depth presentation. The floor is open for questions, contributions, or remarks, please.
Yes, I see a hand up. Lieutenant Jordan.
Okay.
Oh, this is actually, I think I was clapping after a wonderful presentation, so it's just not actually a hand up for a question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So there's a clap for you, PP Kafi. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yes, IPP. Good evening.
Yes, PAG. Good evening, PAG.
Thanks to IPP Kafu, you've done very well. These days, you will be receiving calls from people claiming that they are working with Controller and Accountant General's department, and that do you want arrears, salary arrears, and all that. It has become very frequent. Fortunately for us, one person came here, we were able to cause his arrest. He was sent to the CID, and I think they have processed him for court. The person says he was working with Ghana Immigration Service. Meanwhile, he said he was trying to connect people to be paid arrears. So we should be careful. Those of us who are working with Controller and Accountant General Department, it's becoming very, very rampant. So if you are not careful, they tell you that, oh, we can let you get this arrears. They will mention some huge sum. And because he said it's a bait, that is a bait for you. And then you go in the end, you see that even if they succeed in paying you the money, later on you'll be paying for a huge deduction for a long period because they realize it later on. So we have to be careful. The next contribution is about Yahoo Mail. Sometimes you are there, so Yahoo Mail is updating its database. Please, can you bring the following information? Your name, your password, your so and so, your so and so and so. When I see it, I just delete it. Because if you make a mistake and you click on it, you give information, that is the end. Before you realize you're using your email somewhere, as you say. So let us all be careful. Maybe because all over the world, jobs are not there. So people have resorted to bad things to survive, which is too bad. So let us all be careful. Thank you very much, Rotary President.
Hello, IPP, Russian President. Hello.
Yes, hello, Grace.
Yeah. IPP, I had this problem at work. I think that was in February. I was working on my data. All of a sudden, somebody came in. One pharmacist came and sat behind my machine. Oh my God. Hello?
Yes, we are listening, Grace.
Before I realized, I went back, somebody came to retrieve the folder. I went to check and I realized that the data again. So I had to call in our IT guy to come around. He did. I took it to the regional hospital only for us to get a message that we should pay $1,000 for them to give us back the information we were using, the access. And $1,000, we just look at the whole thing. Fortunately for me, headquarters had backup. and then they gave to me, and then I reinstall it back. So as you are saying, like locking of the PC from unauthorized users, I think I fell a victim to it because I don't know whatever the pharmacist sat behind my PC to do at work, and then that issue came up. So thanks for the insights.
Okay, thank you, Rotary Grace. I see PhD Jack's hand up, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Rotary President, and good evening, fellow Rotarians. I have a, yes, thank you, PP Coffee, for that insightful, though I came in late because I was just hopping from one meeting to the other in the name of the project fair. I would want to speak to you very briefly after the presentation with regards to how to deal with some of these calls that come as a result of the fact that your number is in the open, and how do you curb the situation, and how do you protect yourself from some of these numbers? If your number is in the open and is being used for official business, how are you able to decipher a genuine call, etc.? That is my question, but I'll speak to you after the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Be carefully take that.
Mr. President,
Be careful.
yes, Mr. President. If there's another question, then I just do the two. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How many other hand up? Hello.
Bibi.
Yes.
Bibi.
Yes, please.
I was there. Hello, Bibi.
Yes, please. I can hear you. I can hear you.
There is this other one. I was there when all of a sudden I had a WhatsApp message from a UK number 044. I think two different people. So hello, how are you? How are you doing? ABC. So I said So I was quiet. Then I said hi. So later on, oh, don't you remember me? I said from where? That I had your number from. So I just look at the way the conversation was going. I said, no, such person, because those I know with this person. So I went behind the scene to go and search for. Then I realized that all of a sudden he started talking about dealing in gold. So sometimes, like, you are there, all of a sudden you get people chatting you, and you don't even know where they even had your numbers from. What? I heard you, Papa. Because I on two occasions my Facebook account was hacked.
Okay, thank you. And be careful, please take that.
Yes, please. Thank you. So basically, most people get access to phone numbers because, from what I see, it's marketing. You know, somebody says Facebook is free. Twitter and all the other things are free, but they are not. They are not free because apart from just buying the data that you use, which doesn't go to them directly, they need to make money. And so they take some of these details and sell it to other people, third parties, who would now use them to market their stuff to you. I'm suspecting that that is one of the basic things that happens. Because ideally, your number shouldn't be given to someone without your consent. And if all of us are getting the same messages, marketing strategy from some people, then it's difficult. Even during the election time, we have political parties sending messages to people. And we're wondering how I even got a message from this party A or party B. So basically for me, what I suspect is that it's just a marketing strategy that they do. Is that unfortunately, once they get their money, the third parties use the numbers for whatever they want to use it for. If we had carriers, AT&T, Orange, and those other places in the Western world where you have carriers actually selling devices, mobile devices, and stuff like that, then it's easier for you to just call the carrier and tell them you would want something like a two-factor authentication where you'll be the only one to change some aspect of your number or report something like that to them. But I don't know how the situation is here. If you should call probably the call center for Vodafone or MTN and report that you've been getting some unsolicited messages from some particular numbers. Some of them they can trace, but I really don't know about that. And for most of us who also use the Truecaller, yeah, I personally don't trust Truecaller. I don't know why. And I understand why people would like to know who is calling me with a strange line. But I feel for me, even though I'm talking about cybersecurity, I'm still skeptical. It's difficult for me to trust anybody who is promising to protect me online. For instance, when I mentioned the password and using different passwords on different accounts, because we are almost all on over 5 accounts, it becomes difficult remembering which one you use for which other one. And so we have software that can help you keep all these passwords. But you see, the thing is, that software will also need a password. And it's stored by somebody who created it. So what shows the person will not have access to? You get it? So we are really not safe any way you look at it. We can only do the best to protect ourselves so that things don't come from us. The other thing is that we have digital footprints, and then there's something else. Is it digital shadows or something? There are 2 terms. The footprint is where you yourself leave the footprint. So for instance, if I take Facebook, I share, and for people who follow me, of late, if I don't share about sunset, I share food. So that's what I do. That is me. So that's my digital footprint. I am leaving those prints myself. But if I attend a program, and then, for instance, when we went to the presidential ball, and somebody takes a picture of me, or together, I take a picture of someone, and the person goes to share that on their page and tags me in it. It is there. Is it on their page? It's not mine. So that is not my digital footprint, even though it's still something about me online. So you realize that most of the info people have about us, about 50% of them do not come from us. They come from others. So we also need to be careful the way we share stuff that do not only concern us. The fact that the picture is nice doesn't mean you need to share it. You need to get the consent of the other party. So they know that they are also being protected and stuff like that. So that's what I can say with the phone numbers. I'm sure it's just practically marketing strategy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, PP Catherine. Anyone else with a question, contribution? Hello.
One question.
Hey, Chief. Okay.
Yes, Madam President, I would want to know. Okay, thank you. Good evening, fellow Rotarians and guests. I would want to know if it is safe, for instance, to save passwords when you open an application on your PC or on your phone. Usually, the prompt would come. Would you want to save the password and then gives you option now or later or something? Is it safe to do that?
Yes, as I mentioned,
okay.
Cookies do that, and cookies are not safe. And so for me, I choose never. I would like to remember my password myself after I created it. So I wouldn't allow the web browser. You know, that's why I said there's something about there's this book, Hooked, written by Neil something. He mentioned about how we consume stuff, and especially what the telecommunication people are using to get us. it's about our pain points. As individuals, it's painful. It sometimes look like work for you to cram and remember all those things in your head. So once there's something that's convenient, you choose a convenient one. I know people who have logged into their Facebook apps since they bought their phone 5 years ago. They've never logged out. If you should give them a PC right now, Facebook will block their account because on the fourth try, they'll still get their password wrong. That's because it's convenient for it to be logged in, but it's not safe. And you never know what somebody is doing behind the scenes. So I would advise, if the web browser or the website you visit, which of course if the web browser is offering to store and save your password, you just ignore it. Choose never.
Okay, thank you, PP Kafui, for that. And so, seeing no hand up, we'll end the question session here and say a big thank you to our facilitator tonight, PP Kafui, for that in-depth presentation you've given to us. We appreciate the information and the education, and we hope to do better. In fact, I have deactivated my location. Thank you.